She said capitalism, sweetie. Yoga with Adrian blocked me. I love the Irish. Olivia Benson's just a bad bitch, if you get me. Maybe she's quarter-life crisis. Really, girl? I'm not really into that. Left no crumbs. Hi everyone, welcome back to another video. I'm Ray, what Ray reads. Follow me on Instagram, yeah you want to. Before we get into the video, if you're not already, subscribe, because why not? In today's video, I thought, since we're halfway through the year, I'd do a 2024 favourites, not just of books, but of other things that I've enjoyed this year. Films, TV, music, other things that I'm sort of enjoying or appreciating this year. Let's get to know each other a little bit more. So get comfy, get yourself a beverage, and let's get into the video. First up, obviously, we're starting with books. It's what Ray reads. So I'm gonna share some books that I've loved this year. And first up, we've got Miss Emily Henry. That's upside down. Miss Emily Henry's latest book, Funny Story, which I basically devoured and left no crumbs. Emily Henry, she gives us what we need. She's there for the girlies. She's one of the girlies. And she's like, you want light-hearted summer reads, rom-com greatness? Got you covered. And this is a light-hearted romance of the will they won't they variety. I'm eating it up. If you've read Emily Henry before, you know the vibe. It's a modern day romance with funny, heartfelt characters. It's not cringe for the most part, which is why, you know, I stan Em Hen. And if you're not familiar, just think 90s rom-com. Sandra Bullock. Who else have we got? Why can't I think of anyone else who was in rom-coms? I suppose it was just Sandra Bullock then. Julia Roberts. And there's a real comforting element to this read. It's something you'd pick out if you were like, oh, I just want an easy comforting read that's going to make me feel good. This is your girl. And another thing is, if you're a fan of New Girl with Zooey Deschanel, the lead romance in Funny Stories, very Nick and Jess. The next book that I loved this year was I Who Have Never Known Men by Jaqueline Harpmen, and this was one that I'd sort of heard about, but my friend got me it for my birthday, and it's a dystopian feminist novel, otherworldly, and it completely transported me to a different place, which, you know, all great books do. And it made me feel really deeply for these characters who are isolated in the middle of nowhere in a land we don't know if... A land we don't know is Earth, or is it?
What do you mean?
Somewhere else. And they've been locked in an underground bunker, and we hear the story from the youngest of the group, who's known nothing else other than life in this bunker, and she's never named, but we see everything through her eyes, and she's kind of a blank slate because she's known nothing else, and we follow them as they explore the landscape through her eyes and discover the world they're living in. And it's a short book, but it's so powerful, and afterwards you'll be left with lingering thoughts and emotions, and it just stays with you. Fantastic read. The next book I listened to on audio, and that is Doppelgänger by Naomi Klein, not Naomi Wolf. And this book is non-fiction, and she talks about how you can get mistaken online for different people, doppelgangers if you will, people who are similar to us, may even look like us, but they live a completely different existence. And in this case, Naomi Klein, who's kind of leftist, political, social, economic commentator, is mistaken for a once famous feminist author, Naomi Wolf, who has sort of fallen down the rabbit hole of alt-right and right-wing conspiracy theories, and she's constantly getting mistaken for her, which she's like... I'm not really into that. And so she starts looking into it, and she explores doppelgangers and the law of doppelgangers, and how online there's a mirror world where you can get sort of wrapped up in this alternate reality that isn't in the real world, the live and breathing world, but it holds a lot of power. And she touches on politics and, you know, feminist theory, the economy, social media. Here comes Mabel. And just how fake news and this alternate reality holds power that will impact actual reality. And it's just very interesting and intriguing. And if you're interested in the way social media is going, and especially, you know, politics and how it's impacting, then it's just an intriguing and engaging read, especially listening to the audio because she reads it. It's part memoir, part exploration of, you know, the political themes that she's investigating, really. And it does sound heavy, and I think maybe if you were to read it in the physical book, it could be a bit dry, but definitely listening to it, if you're a fan of podcasts, it can be more engaging. So yeah, I really enjoyed that book, and it's kind of one, if not the only. I think I've only read like 2 non-fiction books, and I'm always like, yeah, this is the year I'm reading more non-fiction. Really, girl. The next book is Play It As It Lays by Joan Didion, and this year I set myself the task of reading more Joan Didion because I've only read one of her books, but one of my Bookstagram friends said this was her favourite and I ate her up. And I think this book's like largely considered one of the first books. Well, it's not only considered one of the great American novels, especially since, you know, a lot of the great American novels are written by men.
I said it, I'm not taking it back.
But this was one that's definitely considered one of the great Americana-esque novels that's written by a woman. But I think this was one that sort of spurred on the genre of literary fiction. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm sure it was like very modern at the time it came out, because it came out in the 70s, I think. And it was a character-driven story about a complex character, as opposed to, you know, being more plot focused. And it's definitely inspired a lot of the literary fiction that we read these days. It's set in Los Angeles in the late 60s, and it's an exploration of a modern American life at the time. On the cusp of the 70s, you know, the political change and landscape, a new generation and mentality was being born. And we follow Maria, who is sort of a fading actress and model. She feels lost as a mother, and there's issues in a marriage and with her daughter, who's in a facility, and she doesn't feel fulfilled in her motherhood, and her marriage is crumbling, a career's drying up, and she's in like crisis mode. She's definitely in like I wouldn't say she's midlife, maybe she's quarter life crisis. And we get a somewhat unlikable character, which at the time, you know, you probably weren't getting as much of. It was a very modern take on the very political themes for the time of abortion, extramarital affairs, drug use, self-harm, and just a lot of complex issues that aren't explored at the time for women. So it was definitely a revolutionary novel, and I understand why a lot of people love it. It's definitely like up there with one of my favourite of Joan Didion's work, but you know, I haven't read that much, but I don't think it's going to be topped, to be quite honest. Next we've got Welcome to the Hynam-dong Bookshop by Hwang Bo-reum, translated by Shanna Tan. And I think this was the first book I read. It's so funny because these 2 books, I Who Have Never Known Men and Welcome to the Hynam-dong Bookshop, were bought for me by my friend, and they both became like 2 of my favourite reads. And that one's set in Tokyo, a woman who's like sick of the capitalistic system and the burnout she's feeling from her corporate job and an unhappy marriage, and she's like, something needs to change, I'm unsatisfied, this lifestyle isn't working for me, and I feel like I'm a cog in the machine. So she divorces her husband, leaves the corporate world, and starts a new business venture of opening up a independent bookshop that is also a bit of a coffee shop as well. And she meets a lot of colourful characters who are all facing their own sort of questions at that moment in their lives and trying to find a sense of purpose. And it's a very comforting sort of read and take on finding a passion and working to live as opposed to living to work. That work culture, hustle culture, and about finding your sense of purpose and satisfaction within yourself as opposed to external factors like work and things like that. And it's a very heartfelt take on capitalism, I'd say, and it'll make you, you know, feel touched and emotional for these characters, and maybe even question your own life, what you want from it. Do you want X, Y and Z at the cost of your mental health, or do you want want less material things, but you'll have more of a fulfilling existence following a passion that may not lead to, you know, great monetary gains. A great question to be asking through a comforting novel, if you get me. And I loved it. She said, capitalism, sweetie, down with it. Next, we've got Tom Lake by Ann Patchette. My first Ann Patchette, I'd seen a lot of people reading hers and I wanted to check out her work, and I started with this because it seemed like a nice spring read. And it's a very sweet novel, another great comforting read as well. And it's about a woman who's a family, a daughters and a husband. They have a cherry farm in Michigan, and it's set during the COVID-19 pandemic, and they're all locked down at the farm trying to keep it running. And she's telling her daughters the story of the romance that she had in the summer of her youth with a now famous actor, and it's told through snippets of her retelling the story to her daughters. So it's very like sweet and nostalgic, and it focuses on the decisions in our lives that lead us down different paths. And because it's being told from the perspective of an older woman who's lived, you know, the majority of her life, you get a different perspective than if you would from a young person who's not had that life experience, and how when a story's told you may think it was the wrong choice, but the overarching theme of it is family and relationships and finding what is important to you as opposed to doing what is sort of expected of you. It's just a very sweet book, and I really enjoyed the writing and the characters, so if you want a nice comfort and read, that's a great one. And the last book is the most recent book I read, and that is Blue Sisters by Coco Mellors, or Coco Mellors, and she's the author of Cleopatra and Frankenstein. And I actually went to the book event with West Kirby Books, and she was speaking there and she signed the book. And this follows three sisters who are grieving the loss of the fourth sister after she suddenly passes away, and it's set between New York, London, Paris and LA, and the sisters are brought together through this loss and grief, and they have to deal with the trauma of things that have happened in their lives at this moment of turmoil. And it's a great exploration of female characters who are flawed. It tackles addiction, grief, loss, infidelity, trauma, family trauma, generational trauma. And I think Coco Mellors is very skilled at creating complex female characters. She does it really well. She's also great at dialogue and arguments and friction, which there's a lot of in this book, and I think I'd love to see her tackle a screenplay because I think she'd do it really well. I know they are adapting Cleopatra and Frankenstein, and I think she should write the script, and it's just a great set of complex female characters, which if you're not new to the channel, you know I'm there for. So they're the books. That was 6 books. 7 with the audio that have really impacted me this year. Now on to TV and films. First up, TV. What you been watching, what you been loving? Law and Order. If you've watched me vlogs, you know I'm on my Law and Order journey. It's just something easy to watch, and Olivia Benson's just a bad bitch.
She's got a point.
Yeah, I've been enjoying that journey, although I will say that Netflix has put up the most random series. It's not all the series, it's from like season 6 onwards, only up until like season 13 or something like that, and I'm just like, it's a bit weird and suspicious. Baby Reindeer, which, you know, if you're not living under a rock, you know, it's the hottest show on Netflix, and it's an exploration of, it's like semi-autobiographical by the comedian, I forget what his name is Richard Gadd, and he's exploring his time with a stalker. He had a stalker, and he also delves into trauma and an assault that he faced in his life, and it's just very powerful television and writing, so I loved that as well. I'm rewatching Derry Girls because I love the Irish, and that is just like superior television.
Well, I'm not being an individual on my own.
I absolutely love it. The writing, the acting, the nostalgia, the fact that it's set in the 90s, the soundtrack. I just love the Irish. But there's not that much TV that I felt was that great this year. Sorry, no offence, but it's true.
Not my problem.
It's just been like really mediocre, and I think we really need to talk about streaming services with their lack of quality control. So yeah, if you've got any good TV series recommendations, let me know. Now on to films. If you know me, you know I'm a film girly. She studied film studies. Yeah, so I love going to the cinema and keeping up with like the latest films. And some films that I've loved in no particular order this year have been Challengers, Love Triangle.
It's called a throuple.
Tennis movie with Zendaya in, with another banging soundtrack. I loved that. I also loved Dune Part 2. I loved Dune Part 1 as well. I'm not really a sci-fi girly, but you know, I'm down with the Dune films. I think it's because that Denis Villeneuve, is that how you pronounce his name? He's just a really like superior filmmaker, and if you haven't watched Sicario or Prisoners or Arrival, what are you doing? And I think that's why Dune is such... just slaps, doesn't it? Like sci-fi and action are usually films that I'm not that engaged with, but you know, she's a Dune girly. And another film that I loved was the film with Kirsten Stewart in. Is it Kristen Stewart? Or Kirsten Stewart, I forget. It's called Love Lies Bleeding, and it's set in the 80s, I think, and we follow this queer relationship, and there's like a crime element to it and a thrilling element to it, and it's about this female bodybuilder who wants to go to this bodybuilding competition, and she meets a woman who works at the gym, and her family have like a lot of drama and ties to the crime world in the small town that they live in, and they kind of get caught up in it, and it's, you don't know where it's gonna go, and it had me on my toes. Female led, female directed. I'm there. So yeah, they were some films and TV I liked. Next on to music and podcasts. So podcasts, I've been listening to the whole back catalogue of Criminal, which is by Phoebe Judge. Yeah, so they're like different crime adjacent stories, but it's more like investigative journalism that has crime elements as opposed to like generic true crime. I've kind of moved away from a lot of those generic true crime podcasts because they're just like... they're just not doing it for me anymore, and I just don't agree with some of the aspects of it. So yeah, I'm more conscious of what I'm engaging with these days, but yeah, I think Criminal is a great investigative led podcast. I also love the podcast If Books Could Kill, and they talk about a lot of best-selling airport style books, especially like a lot of self-help books, and they like look into the research behind them and whether it's truthful and it's light-hearted and funny and well researched, and yeah, I really love that one. But I've not really, you know, let me know some good podcasts because I've just been listening to me Ride or Die OG ones. Music, we know I'm a Swiftie, Tortured Poets, she's been devouring that constantly. Some favourites, Fortnite, I don't want to hear about it. Guilty as Sin, but Daddy I Love Him, I'm Gonna Get You Back, So High School, and LOML, just right in the heart. Another album that I wasn't too keen on when I first listened, but I'm really loving it now, is Radical Optimism by Dua Lipa. When I first listened to it, I was just a bit like, it's not really doing it for me. But then I did this video by MavFit, my girl MavFit, who I do a lot of home workouts from. She did a video of Radical Optimism, like dance workout, and after that I've just been like constantly listening to the album. I do have to say, I find the thing that I don't like about the album is the title. Just like, really do it. I've also been listening to Holly Humberston's Paint My Bedroom Black. I went to see her with my friend earlier on in the year and it was really good. I'm also hopping on the train, late I know, for Chapel Roan, but you know, she's giving the girlies and the gays what they want, and I'm just like living. Oh, did I not mention the album's called The Rise and Fall of a Midwest Princess? And I've also been listening to Shy Girls EP, Club Shy. That's like me gym tunes. Other songs that I've been in a chokehold with, obviously Espresso by Sabrina Carpenter. She's just got everyone in a chokehold with that one, hasn't she? And another random song that is definitely going to be on my end of year Spotify playlist. I know it's going to be one of my top songs. It's Goodbye Horses by Q Lazarus. And I can't even explain myself. All I'll say is Buffalo Bill. Moving on. As I'm getting older, in my teenage years, I'm a skincare girly. I like looking after my skin, and that is also because I had acne in my early 20s, and you know, I find it important to look after my skin. So yeah, I'll share some products that I've really been loving lately, and I'm getting into Korean skincare. First up, we've got Beauty of Joseon SPF, and I don't know if you can see from that far away, but this is the Relief Sun SPF 50 rice and probiotics factor 50, and I've absolutely been living for this. I actually started using it in the summer last year, and the consistency and the texture of it, I just love it. I think it's really good, and Korean skincare is just superior. Sorry, that's the truth. So because I love that so much, I thought I'm going to try some of their other products, and I found them for a bargain on TK Maxx, and I've been using their Dynasty cream. You see that? Dynasty cream, which is like a moisturiser, and I've been using that morning and night. Love the texture, love the way it makes my skin feel super hydrated. Yeah, she's a 10. And I've also been using their Glow Serum, which is Flow Serum, Propolis and Niacinamide. This serum helps to control sebum secretion and keeps the skin moist. But yeah, I was apprehensive to use a serum, but this really does make your skin glow and keeps that skin hydrated. And together, I don't feel like my skin's felt as hydrated as it ever has before with this stuff. Usually I suffered with a lot of dry skin and dryness, even if I was using rich moisturisers, but I'm converted to the Korean skincare game. Next, we've got some makeup items, and I've switched to tubing mascara because I dealt with a lot of fallout, and the tube and mascaras are just a game changer because they adhere to the eyelash. And yeah, it's a bit annoying when you take it off because it's all in like little bits, but you don't get like the black bits under your eyes with it, so I'm converted to that also. I've also been loving this collection, which is like a cheap UK brand. It's a lip and cheek stain, and I just use it on my lips mostly when I don't feel like wearing a lipstick. It just gives your lips a bit of colour. I also like their Gloss Me Up lip gloss, which is what I've got on at the moment, the lip stain and the gloss. So yeah, there's some skincare and makeup I've been loving. Oh, I've also been loving, I'm not going to the bathroom to get them, so I'll put the picture up, but it's the Brushworks wrist bands that I use when I wash my face, because I'm a bit weird about, you know, I hate it when the water drips down my arms when I'm washing my face. I know, first world problems. So these wristbands, they basically just stop the water from dripping down your arms, and it's one of those little things that makes a big difference. Next, we've got some Miscellaneous. First off, we've got this light. It's a reading light by Glowcent, or I don't know how to pronounce that. I'm gonna look it up. Glowcent. Can she read? Yeah, Glowcent, the brand's called, and they sent me these reading lights to try out. And obviously you clip it onto your book, and then you've got the reading light, and you can change the colour to like a softer or a cooler light, and the vibrancy can be brighter. But yeah, I do love a reading light, especially, you know, if you're travelling somewhere on like public transport and it's a bit dull, or you don't want the harsh light on late at night. This is really good. This Bagoo bag, which is a ethically made bag made from recycled materials, I believe, and I've seen a lot of people with these and I was influenced. I wanted one of the Bagoos, and this fits my laptop in, so it's like a Mary Poppins bag, and basically I wanted their version with Sandy Lang, the designer. She did a collab with them, but she's a povo and she can't afford that, so
Help me, I'm poor.
this was the next best option for me, and it's comfortable. I like styling it with certain things, and it fits loads of things in. So, and another random thing on my list is blueberry matches. I'm a little basic bitch, and I've been slurping up those blueberry matches like no one's business. So much so that I bought my own blueberry syrup, and I've been making them at home. And then lastly, I'm just going to shout out some other YouTube channels and booktube channels that I've discovered and loved this year. So first off, we've got Nikel's Nook, and she's another booktuber that I discovered this year, and she's been really sweet and kind to me, and she's sent like a lot of people over to my channel by kindly shouting me out, so right back at you, girl. And she's a brummie, I think, and she's got like a really nice, sweet personality. Go subscribe to her channel, a fellow UK booktuber. Then I've got Simon from Savage Reads, another booktuber that's been nothing but lovely to me and supported me. And I actually met him at the Coco Mellors event, and he kindly gave me a book. What a sweet person. And he's a northerner, I believe, and if he's not, he's an honorary one now. He's given icon, so go check out his as well. Another booktuber that I have been friends with on Bookstagram is Litwick Cat, and she's a American booktuber, and I just want to support another bookstagrammer that took the leap into booktube, and she shares similar videos to me and we have similar tastes, and she just seems like a lovely person. So yeah, I've been enjoying watching her content and her channel growing, so go support her as well. And other YouTubers that I've loved are Khadija and Bowie. She does a lot of like pop culture, feminist leaning things, and I love her personality. I love Brad Evans, fellow northerner. He's a reaction channel and I love watching his videos, and his editing's just like top tier. He does like reactions to TV shows and albums and things like that. Not so much albums anymore, but TV shows. We love seeing another northerner flourish. And then just some fitness accounts that have basically allowed me to cancel my gym membership by creating free content, and that is MavFit. I've been supporting MavFit since the beginning, since before a channel blew up. I'm not gatekeeping, I'm just saying I was there before the pandemic. She does lots of free fitness content. Then I've got MK Fit. She does more like dance fit, hit content, and she just like does such fun videos that when you're doing exercise you just forget you're doing it because you're just having such a fun time, and she seems like a really nice person. And then more recently I've started doing Move with Nicole, who does Pilates and yoga style videos, and I discovered her after looking for a new yoga channel that was more sort of intermediate, because Yoga with Adrian blocked me. Yoga with Adrian, more like Yoga with Phony. So yeah, we don't stand people who block people for asking you to speak out about a genocide. So
I said what I said.
yeah, they're some channels that I've loved. Go support them. They're just some things I've enjoyed this year. Give me suggestions in the comments. I hope you enjoyed this video and it wasn't too boring. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, comment and subscribe. And yeah, I'll see you in the next one. Bye!